From near makes to epic misses, all the way to the first airball dunk the league has seen, at least the first one that anybody's cared to talk about, these are some of the best or worst missed dunks in NBA history. So get your head in the game and let's do this. The first dunk is crazy because, man, it would be top-notch if he had made this. Bro really thought he was about to cook something. He even brought out the coveted twinkle toe step to prepare for greatness. He had so much space he could pull off a 360 move. But he ended up playing himself. It seemed like once he hit the air and came full circle, his knees gave out and the ball hit nothing but rim. Classic case of doing too much. A play that had so much potential ended up making DeMar look like a dumb arse. Sometimes that's just how it be though. That's just how the cookie crumbles. Just make sure you can clean the crumbs up. Speaking of how it be, if you were this next dunker, it would be pretty hard to be happy after this cataclysmic fail. You know there comes a time in every man's life where they must admit that they're their own worst enemy. This dunker turned out to be his biggest op and hit himself with the it's on sight treatment. This wasn't a case of nothing but net or nothing but rim. This right here was nothing but smoke. I mean, how my man pull a drive-by on his own confidence? Who knows? All I do know is one thing for sure. After this game, he went home and was definitely looking at the man in the mirror. Word to Mike Jack. Don't hate on my skills. My man Kevin Durant was not only a man in the mirror, but he was a man in amazement after this failure. Durant went from airborne to air burned after this joint. The wild dish is he had a clear lane to get busy. The other team was finna let him eat, but it turns out he didn't see the menu clearly states you gotta bring your own utensils. My man left his spoon and his life at home and forked himself. Now he need a napkin to wipe away his tears of shame. I mean, if I was looking at the glasses half full, I would say, hey Kevin, you might not have ate, but you still got served. In fact, the service was so great, after this, you gonna have to tip yourself. But did you see bruh's fascination as the ball took off, hitting the sky like a shooting star? I mean, he was busting matrix moves soon as he missed his chance. The fail was actually so well executed that the opposing crowd had to clap. They had no choice but to respect and give KD a standing ovation. Even Drake, the radiant Canadian, had something to say. Wow. And after this joint you about to see, all you gonna be able to say is, how, bruh? As you already know, Blake Griffin is one of the greats when it comes to the dunkage. He's an aficionado of sorts. When he's at his best, he can be seen on some real Space Jam-ish. Unfortunately, with this dunk, it's like he touched the basketball and all his powers got stripped along with his pride. This right here is what I consider the first airball dunk in NBA history. I mean, the ball hit nothing but pure oxygen out this joint, man. Take a look. I promise you, at least 50% of the people who watched this dunk in real time thought he slammed the hell out that ball. But when they realized there was no fanfare, it hit them. Man, this dunk was nothing but a great big phony. Now that I think about it, it's probably the NBA's first airball dunk. What a precedent. I know, that probably isn't true, but I get paid for my jokes, so you gonna get this work, man. I know there's gonna be some basketball fanatic in the comments talking about, actually, in 1982 there was, yeah, all right, we get it, bruh. But what I don't get is how Blake G can miss the rim altogether. That was a better miscalculation than a female mathlete at the America pageant. But hey, when you have a dunk resume like Blake Griffin, you can get the dirt off your shoulders and walk away unscathed. Blake Griffin is a certified legend in this game of basketball. It's solidified. In the past few years, a new potential legend has been on the creep towards legendary status, and his chances seem almost certain. It's none other than the Boston Celtic leader, Jayson Tatum. My boy has been a part of some pretty horrendous bloopers since the start of his career. But this missed dunk is a special edition, for sure. Our brother JT was on his way to make a hell of a play. He had the right of way all the way to the basket, but when he went in for the kill, his pride met his demise a little bit. I would be willing to give my man an excuse if there was another Celtic following close behind him. At that point, I would have said that Tatum was trying to set up some type of innovative alley-oop, but he had nothing but space and opportunity to himself, and he dropped the ball. Pun intended. Javale McGee is probably another player that dropped the ball a few times in his career. Even with that being said, we have to admit that he's probably the luckiest player to ever play the game right beside Robert Horry. McGee was fortunate enough to get 3 rings without being worthy of legendary status. Despite his rings, his name doesn't ring any bells in these basketball streets, and this dunk is the perfect symbol of how he's viewed as a player. Looks like Javale tried to show off to no avail, and it turned out to be a fail, and in his head, he probably was like, oh well, in the future, I'll have 3 rings and still be forgotten. So no way anybody will remember this, but yes, Javale, yes, we remember. All he can do is thank God that he didn't fall, because that would have been the perfect storm and gave us the perfect laugh. But I'm sure it would have got him taken out of the game for a while. Nevertheless, we salute Javale for knowing how to be okay and on the right team at the right time. He's got more rings than some of our favorite players, but he won't be married to the Hall of Fame anytime soon. No Hall of Fame for this next player either, but he'll surely be first ballot Hall of Shamer for sure after this dunk. Look at this ish, man. My man thought he was finna make a name for himself, didn't he? The Lakers didn't even bother to defend, bro. It's like they all telepathically knew to let him go ahead and proceed and watch the embarrassment commence. I'm pretty sure it was the lack of hops that led to this shameful attempt. But one thing I do know is the basketball had it out for bruh. It was like the ball said, how dare you include me in this embarrassment? The nerve of you! And then he smacked him right up real quick. After a dunk like that, if I was that player, I'm shooting layups for the rest of the game, or I'm gonna set a record for the most assists because the hoop just isn't my friend anymore. We've talked about the Hall of Fame, we've talked about the Hall of Shame, but I think it's time we introduce the Hall of Lame. It hasn't fully materialized yet, but whenever it's done, this dunk is definitely in there. Giannis was trying to do too much again, and it failed him. He was trying to bring the dunk contest to the real game, but he ended up making it a flunk contest. My man was trying to be too fancy and it cost him. The Greek freak gets an excuse though. He was taking a huge chance, and if it worked, we would be praising him, so we can't go too hard on him. This dunk is hard enough to pull off when nobody else is on the court. Man, you gotta give props to the Greek freak, but this next mammal malfunction was weak. This man had great intentions with trash execution. Brilliant hustle on the steal move though, I can't front. You gotta give Brody an A for effort for the defense. When it comes to the dunk execution though, I'll give it a D+. My man stole the rock and was headed towards infinity and beyond, but he toyed with himself, and then the story was over. The end. But nah, for real though, you gotta make those. I always say an easy missed shot always seems insignificant until you lose by 1 point. Then you in the locker room talking about the woulda, coulda, shouldas. Every moment counts, people. And it's true, every moment does count, but what shouldn't count was this dunk. Never have I seen a dunk attempt that makes both players look so foolish. This joint right here should be criminal if you ask me. You see, I usually don't pick the dunks that are contested because, you kinda supposed to miss those, right? But this one right here was so insane it had to make the list. Morant not only missed, but he still dunked the ball at the same time, if you catch my drift. Not only that, but my man sacrificed his face for a facade. Talk about pain in vain. No way Ja thought he was gonna make that. He was just trying to prove a point. I don't know exactly what point that was, but maybe you do, so tell us in the comments. This last missed dunk is by far the wildest missed dunk that I've ever seen in my life. I don't even understand how it's possible at all. Our homie James Harden really did everything right here, but this is the prime example of the universe having its own plan.
And the dunk. Oh, he missed it!
Harden had nothing but clear pastures all the way to the basket. He double-checked to make sure he had the space, did all of the calculations. He even did the twinkle toe step, man. The twinkle toe step. The ball even goes into the hoop, but I guess that technically it didn't go through the net though, right? Wow. What a rare occurrence, man. Nevertheless, a miss is a miss. And with this one, this is a once-in-a-lifetime event. I had to put it on the list. I believe that you can miss a dunk in style, and when it comes to that, this actually might be the GOAT missed dunk, in my opinion. Argue with yourself. If you really disagree, give us your best missed dunks in the comments, and they just might make the next video. We out.